when the first time that you had sort of thought that GameStop might begin to use some of the cash on hand or use some of the momentum or even just think about purchasing Bitcoin?
Yeah, well, I guess like for me, like this moment, you mentioned about of GameStop. I know the price of Bitcoin and their fate seem are obviously very much intertwined just now. But for me, it's like a very much a moment of everything coming full circle because we're part of the GAV and Bitcoin chat there on Twitter where everyone's sharing information around GameStop and Bitcoin and stuff. But for me, like I say, GameStop was my first love and Bitcoin was my true love. So I don't know, I was just, this whole saga has woken up to so many different things. I'm not the same person that I was back in 2021. Well, this sneeze happened, so to speak. And and they shut off the buy button. I had friends text me who were like playing markets and stuff, but I was just sitting there with my cash in savings account just kind of thinking, oh, that's what you're supposed to do, right? You just rely on the banks, and it never occurred to me to like start investing and stuff. And then there's this whole thing that kind of blows up the internet, and you probably very much remember Occupy Wall Street and stuff in 2008, and then suddenly there's this movement out there. I'd been on Reddit, but I'd never been on Wall Street Bets, and I realized that I could have been involved in something that was like the right way to do Occupy Wall Street and make myself fabulously wealthy this whole time. How could I have missed out on all that? So I got into GameStop then and started buying shares of as much as I could in the very early aftermath of that. Um, eToro and things that were still allowing access from UK brokers at the time. And I think in the kind of, between January and February when things were kind of dying down, there was a low, went way back down to like a really low amount. I can't even quite remember right now. That's when I realized like I just woke up, like I should be paying attention to financial markets in in general. And Elon Musk starts buying Bitcoin. There's a big thing, Tesla starts putting Bitcoin in the balance sheet. And I'm like, oh yeah, I've heard about this Bitcoin thing for years. Why the hell have I never looked into it? Elon Musk is a successful guy, right? He runs all these companies. I should be following that as well. And then of course, COVID was very much still around, lockdowns and things like that. Not much to do but sit on YouTube and watch Max Kaiser and Michael Saylor and all the podcasts up there. And then, that's when it all kicked. Um, just how good Bitcoin was. So for me, like for a long time, GameStop and Bitcoin were very much in parallel from that early part of 2021, or at least my journey into understanding it. And I would say it was like that for a number of years. But then I remember coming across the kind of moment when they started to really kind of come together for me in my head and how they could really fuse, uh, kind of Dragon Ball Z style, I guess, would be Peruvian Bull. He's a pal and contact of mine on Twitter. He was writing some great stuff on on Reddit, the dollar endgame pieces. And his tweets were like kind of, it just occurred to me like here he died well, was also independently, he thought way more intelligent and financially smart than I would have been, like, real kind of formal education in this space, I would say. And he's writing not this fabulous stuff about, and he's independently come to the conclusion that GameStop and Bitcoin are the two best things you could own if you're going to own any kind of financial instruments. Um, that's the stuff to own. And I was like, holy shit, like, maybe I'm not a big idiot after all. There's people out there who are coming to the same thing. And then from there, we're on a few spaces, and people like Ben Werman were on it as well, and Mozart. And that's where we kind of got talking. We were there, like, it was very much GME space, but then like a few of us kind of put up questions to each other, just like, well, there's this Michael Saylor guy who's buying Bitcoin out there. He seems to be doing quite well with MicroStrategy. Is it really out there for GameStop to, do the same, kind of follow that? So I would say, that was kind of like gelling around for a while in 2022. And, I've not done like a full retrospective, just going off the top of my head here, but I would say it would be a bit of the lead up in mid 2023, coming up to 2024 was when we kind of were seriously thinking of doing things around this. And I ended up going to the Bitcoin conference last year and
Which
well,
one?
been chatting
The one in Prague.
the one in Nashville.
Okay, cool.
So made the trek over there. And I'd been chatting with Krugy, Boo, and Ben and Nick for a while before that, and we talked about like maybe there's something we could be doing to try and get GameStop to start thinking about Bitcoin because you know yourself just how quiet or rather keeping the cards close to the chest that Ryan Cohen et al. Have been, and I would say very much laws of power kind of thing, that Robert Greene stuff, like, and you can understand a bit. It's very frustrating, but then it leaves the short question and everything, right? So, um, and that's when it comes down to debate. But at the same time, like, if Brian Cohen himself is sort of an activist investor, right? And you don't want to be sitting on your hands either. But at the same time, you're just a dude on the internet. So, Nick and I or rather Mozart and I, we kind of were most enthused to do something. So we kind of got chatting and we decided to put our brains together and come up with a letter to the board sort of thing. And we got one ready and kind of co-authored it really, just kind of edited it and over between the two of us. He's over in the States. He sent off the letter physically as well and the emails. And we never got a concrete reply back to that. That would have been just before the Bitcoin conference in 2024, probably July, June-ish, we did that. But we promoted it a fair bit online, but I would say like our accounts were fairly small or whatever. But we got like a few decent responses from people as well. Nick would or Mozart would know more about like who was kind of really on board with us at the time. Because it was hard to kind of know who was also in the same space beyond our little group, at least back then. Um, it was still like I don't even want to say nascent. I mean, I guess Michael Saylor was kind of laying down the foundations for everything that's going on right now. Because right now it's like a Bitcoin treasury company comes out of the woodwork every every day or so. So yeah, let me see. And then time was going on. 2024 didn't really know what was going on. We could see Bitcoin, I think, doing a lot of moves. And Mozart and I realized like that there was a shareholder proposal. Like if you wanted to do a shareholder proposal to try and move the needle in any way, it had to be done by the end of the year. We had made plans to kind of do something for a while. Like it's in the way you're there. And I was there, in between jobs and things, kind of sort myself out. So, and then kind of New Year's Eve came around. I was like, "Back, we should do something." Um, and Nick was still keen, so he had taken care of the kind of research. That was like the big part. He kind of knew exactly what we needed to do, and he put in the legwork there because I really did not have a clue. And I was really glad that Nick was willing to do it. So I took the shareholder proposal letter, rejigged it, edited it with Nick to make it more like, he had looked up some of the other shareholder proposals from the likes of Microsoft and things at the time, I think, if I recall correctly. So we co-opted that, and then I kind of basically handled the emails because I had the stocks in my account. You have I forwarded on the kind of chain. I forwarded on another chain as well, just from afterwards, but we'll get to that in a bit later. So yeah, shareholder proposal, did that, emailed them, and then no response for a little while. Just thought, oh well, they're just not bothered with us. We're a small fry. We're Ryan Cohen's there rejigging the entire financial market, taking on the short sellers of from hell. And but then I got a FedEx parcel to Ballymena of all places. Yeah,
That's gotta be quite a moment.
yeah. I mean, you just there kind of because you're watching all this play out on Twitter and stuff, and you forget like you're just you're a small cog in the kind of narrative and such. But yeah, it was just a cool moment as well. I got a FedEx thing, and it basically saying, "Oh, you got kind of done this, that, like these certain check gifts hadn't been met, kind of thing." I can't quite remember what it was now. I think it was shareholder threshold, shareholder number of shares threshold. They were citing. So I sent another email said to them, like, please, just email me. There's no need to be doing FedExes from, Auckland Grapevine or wherever it was. And yeah, so we kind of you can see from the email chain yourself there a bit back and forth. They were saying this shareholder, this thing wasn't done, that wasn't done, and then like personally, like I kept feeling like every time I got an email, I was getting knocked back, and I was like, a little bit deflated. I was like, oh, like maybe we don't know what we're doing here. Like maybe we should just kind of leave this go. But then you notice that they hadn't taken like certain things. To account. And I don't know the ins and outs of the organization, but I'm pretty sure like they kind of some of the people in that email chain, maybe not direct GameStop employees. I'm not too sure. But basically, I was like, hold on a second here. If I'm going to go down, if this is not going to happen. At least I'm going to throw in all the proper, dot all the I's and cross all the T's and make sure like we did it all. So I went back to as much records as I had of my own shares and pointed out that they weren't keeping the what you call it, the reverse, the stock split. They hadn't counted on that in terms of the number of shares for how many years it was, I think 2+ years.
Okay.
So eventually that was interesting. I think they were just really trying to get me to kind of go away quietly. And
I would wonder how many, because I've reached out to the company.
yeah,
Maybe I'm not reaching out to the right place, but I've reached out to them like a couple of days ago just to be like, so I'm basically finishing my book. I've been writing it for 4 years. Would anyone from the company, hopefully Ryan Cohen, like to comment on anything? Like, would they like to see the manuscript? Like, because ultimately the book is about three things. It's about Ryan Cohen's turnaround of the company. It's about Roaring Kitty's journey from 53K to 1 billion, and it's just still mind blowing to me. And and it's about all of the apes, the people who have been watching this for 4.5 years, or longer in some other cases. So I kind of hope to be able to get some sort of comment from the company to put in it. But I've also been trying to get in touch with Joe Fonicello from GME or DD into GME.com, but he hasn't posted a thing for like
because
two.
he's the guy who had the interview with.
Yeah, he's the guy that did the interview, Ryko, but that's the last thing he's posted on that website. So I don't know if he just decided that that was enough. Was that the pinnacle of his like DD?
I'm pretty sure, mate, that I think someone had told me that he was brought in to work with GameStop or something. Is that right? Because a few weeks or a few months ago, when GameStop announced that they were doing a Bitcoin thing, or like just in the lead up to that final announcement.
Good news, everyone. My book about GameStop, the craziest story ever told, is now finished. Well, almost. Still waiting for the final draft. So, in the meantime, I think you should look at pre-ordering it or any one of the multiple fantastic, beautiful t-shirts that I have designed in order to sell with the book. Thank you, everyone, for your patience over the last few years while I have been finishing it very slowly. And I am really, really excited for people to read it. Link is in the description below. Enjoy the podcast.